Hello once again, my angels. It's me, Lord Nicolina, and welcome to, at last, another episode of Angel Rise. It's been over 3 months since I've last made an episode of this series. And this one, it's one I've been meaning to make for a while. So I hope you all are just as excited as I am, as I'll be doing something that I did in a previous episode, only this time, it's on a bigger scale. Before we start, however, I would like to inform you all about why I haven't been making too much videos as of late. For the last few months, I have been busy with some family activities, as well as being sick, mainly with bronchitis. It's drained my motivation quite a bit, but I'm gradually getting it back. And I feel I'm at the point where I feel like resuming making content on here. I'm not going to specify too much about what I'm going to make for the next little while, but I will do my best to maintain the one video every 1 to 2 week timeline I have set. Maybe I'll do 2 videos in a week, but honestly, I just want to see where it goes. For now, it's really all about getting my motivation back, and getting video ideas I've had for quite some time off the ground. So with that being said, I hope you all are looking forward to what's to come. Now without further ado, let's get into this episode's topic. Dating back to the days of my earliest Halloween costumes that I can remember, I've been fascinated with the idea of cosplaying. But as some of my favorite characters, I still had quite a bit of time to go until that was realized. It was Halloween 2020 that it happened, with my first Nicolina cosplay. And looking back on it, that would lead to this new hobby that I thought I would never embrace. Combining the times I've painted my face for Spirit Days in high school, with my love for my favorite characters from video games and characters I've created myself, I've taken up cosplaying with amazing passion. While I loved all the cosplays I have done up to this point, there are 5 that stand out to me the most. Ones I feel which have challenged me in one way or another, and have impacted the way I've done cosplaying. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite cosplay items, whether it's a costume, a wig, face paint, a prop, whichever suits you, and let's hop inside my cosplay wardrobe as I share with you all my 5 favorite cosplays that I have done up to this point. Nicolina, the one who started it all. I honestly feel this would be incomplete without him. And plus, she is the character / OC I've cosplayed the most as. Notable versions of him I've cosplayed as include Sleepover, Juggalo, and Summertime. But the most notable one in my books is his Saint version, which I donned for Halloween in 2022, as well on Christmas Eve the same year, and briefly in January 2024. For the costume, it was the first time I've ever made a cosplay costume myself. At least in terms of design, as the majority of cosplays I have, and still have to this day, were pre-made by various cosplay designers. It started with me getting an ancient Greek / Rome-styled rope costume from my local Spirit Halloween shop not long after my mother and I settled in with my grandparents. I cut off the top right shoulder and arm part, leading right close to the left shoulder, which I left because I needed the robe to be supported. But I did end up cutting off the left arm part as well. Afterwards, as Halloween was fast approaching, I got blue fabric paint off of Amazon, replicating the design of Nicolina's Saint dress. It did take a few days, and admittedly, it was frustrating with the amount of blue paint getting through the fabric, But I also decided to incorporate the leaked paint into the dress design itself. I painted a two-sided triangle on the left shoulder piece, much like an up arrow, expanded the waves on the bottom of the dress / robe, and some of the open spots that were caught, I painted holy crosses on. Makes the costume more godly, am I right? All jokes aside, the rest of the cosplay included angel wings, an angel headband, and blue leggings. The wig was a new one I also got from Amazon, as my old Nicolina wig I got from Spirit Halloween 2 years prior was getting a little frizzy and looked a little short in terms of hair length. The Holy Cross necklace around my neck is one my mother got for me for Christmas in 2021. Finally, the saint look wouldn't be complete without the face paint. The white I used was a clown white light cream face paint made by Meron, which I got in late May of 2021. The blue I used is a water-activated face paint made by Maydeer, which I got as a birthday present in 2021 as well. When Halloween rolled around, I was ready to mark that as an angelic redemption. What I mean by that is that I was shedding the frightening identity I took on throughout the end of September and all of October as misunderstood Nicolina, and letting Saint Nicolina take the spotlight. From the photos I took, I'm honestly super proud of how the cosplay turned out. To date, it's my favorite Nicolina cosplay I've done. And all things considered, this is where my confidence in making cosplay costumes myself took off. I would go on to make a trend out of it in a few of the cosplays I would do in 2023. And like I mentioned earlier, that wasn't the only time I donned this specific cosplay. I would do so again on Christmas Eve of 2022, since Christmas does have its initial theming around Christianity, its link with angels of God, and of course, Saint Nick himself. I would do so again in January 2024 on the weekend of Splatoon 3 Frosty Fest. Though that time, it was without the face paint. It was with Nicolina's standard makeup. I wore it for only 2 hours, and it was an on-the-spot decision. But honestly, I think both versions are just as good. And will I don it again? Honestly, I certainly will. Whether it's for Christmas or just for fun / entertainment, you can bet $1,000,000 that it can happen. Honestly, a great cosplay to begin a new era of cosplaying Nicolina himself. Princess Peach. The first of my favorite characters to cosplay as. While Peach is not my favorite Mario character, she is very close to that mark. I've also done multiple cosplays of her, doing my own sleepover version of her in June 2021, in addition to her Mario movie version in December 2023. Speaking of the Mario movie version, my most favorite version of the cosplay has to be the remastered version. But first, let's talk about the cosplay look itself. The cosplay was Peach's Smash Bros. Dress, alongside the gloves. Those I got in May of 2021, the first time I cosplayed as her. The crown that originally came along had one of its prop gems come off, so for that time, to fit the remastered part, I wore a new crown I got for Christmas in 2022. The makeup was a foundation makeup in the color Vanilla Rose, which I also got in May 2021, and pink lip gloss, which my family has had for quite a few years, And at the time, the closest I had to Peach's actual lip color of pink. Not to mention the wig, also bought in May 2021, is a Princess Peach one. While it is messy, I personally don't mind it. In the case of this cosplay, the forehead part of the wig was partially covering both of my eyes, so I restyled it to the side. Now, onto the day itself. April 6th, 2023. It was the day after the Mario movie released. My mother, step-uncle, step-cousin, and I, after my shift at a past job I had, went to see the movie. It was the perfect time for me to break out my remastered Peach cosplay. Since we were going straight to the theater after I got off, however, I had to put my cosplay on in the car. It was a little tough, especially with the dress. But it was done, and that is something I'll vividly remember for as long as I live. It was an instant hit as soon as we walked into the theater. Immediately, we were greeted by a mother and their young daughter. The daughter was nervous, but I greeted her as best I could. She and her mother weren't the only ones to notice, though. Quite a few more young kids came up, including another mother and her 2 young daughters for a photo, during which my crown fell off twice. Thankfully not breaking. My favorite interaction, though, was with a young couple, both somewhere around my age at the time. I got a picture with the young woman of the couple, and while I don't have it myself, it certainly was a thrill. Afterwards, we saw the movie, and it was absolutely amazing. But that wasn't the end of my cosplaying night. Soon as we got home, I got to taking pictures, and mimic some of the poses Peach did in the movie. Let's just say, some of them are absolutely hilarious. Take a look. But at the end of the day, I really feel the highlight was the fact that I actually cosplayed in public for the first time outside of Halloween. I was nervous at first, considering I was a dude who only dressed up as female characters. Yet I knew I had the courage to make a name for myself that night. In the words of my mother, it really depended on the place I actually did so. In this case, it proved itself, which has certainly helped me with the possibility of doing more public cosplays in the future. Whether it's to go see a movie, to go to a convention, or even just be in a public space like a park. I'll take my remastered Princess Peach cosplay into account the next time I go into public outside of Halloween, dressed up as one of my favorite characters, or my OCs. Soa Keen, my Splatoon baby, front and center. The first Splatoon character / OC I cosplayed as. And looking back on it, I feel this was an eye-opening cosplay. For those who haven't watched Angel Rise episode 41 yet, Soa Keen is representative of my partial Native American / indigenous ancestry, which is a part of my family that has been rarely talked about. I have been curious about this side of my family, and Soa Keen, I feel, is the way to express it. For the cosplay itself, I did it on August 19th, 2023, 6 months after I officially created Soa Keen, compared to Nicolina, who had to wait 7.5 months. The costume was a navy blue sweater I got for Christmas in 2022 from my father, a dark blue indigenous styled poncho, a royal blue beanie, a blue wig which I styled to try and match Soa Keen's hairstyle, all of which I got from Amazon. Along with it came a homemade paper feather to stick on the beanie, track pants, the usual kind of pants I wear, and lastly, the Maydeer blue water activated face paint for the eye mask and war paint stripes, and the clown white light for the outline of the eye mask, which is part of the war paint. By this point, I was just over 6 months into playing Splatoon 3 and have been planning this specific cosplay for 4 of them. It certainly was a massive peak in my love for the series, and the first time I've cosplayed outside an OC or character that was Super Mario based. However, 2 years before, I did already have my eyes set on doing non-Mario cosplays, more specifically The Legend of Zelda, Kid Icarus, and Fire Emblem. Sadly, those never came to fruition then, but with my newfound freedom to shop online, the chances of those cosplays have increased considerably. Getting back to my Soa Keen cosplay, I can say with absolute certainty that, while I have put it in the back of my mind, I thoroughly enjoyed it. At times, though, the wig didn't look perfect. However, I'm now imagining this would likely be how his hair would look if he was human. The face paint also reminds me a bit of some of the designs I've done in high school, where I didn't completely paint my face, but had the majority, or at least have half of it painted. But I feel the simplicity of this design translated super well into an actual makeup, especially considering I've never done a Native American style war paint on my face beforehand. Speaking of which, this was really more than just a Splatoon cosplay. This was my way of bringing a culture that's been part of my family into the spotlight after being in the dark for decades. I'm honestly very grateful and proud to have that chance to bring the partial Native American ancestry I have into view because of Soa Keen. While you may not tell by the skin tone I have, alongside my family and Soa Keen, that we are Native American, like the old saying goes, never judge a book by its cover. This cosplay also led me to cosplaying as my other main Splatoon OC, Carol, which I would cosplay just 2 weeks after Soa Keen, and then I would do so again 3 weeks after that in her Rebel C form. 2 more cosplays I thoroughly enjoyed as well. But I can't forget to acknowledge Soa Keen, the one who started my love for Splatoon and got me more interested in Native American culture. Ira Lena. You may recognize the name of this one. This is the Rosalina OC of Kestrel's boyfriend Ira, a.k.a. Rome64. She was created in November 2021 by Kestrel himself. And while Ira Daisy is the most prominent in the eyes of the Blue and White Angel family lore, I can't exclude Ira Lena at all. However, the version of Ira Lena you see on the screen here is not the version of him I cosplayed as. It's a version of him I created called Ghost Ira Lena. Though in canon, Ira Lena and his sisters are meant to be aliens. Yet Ira's love of Luigi's Mansion is what makes me believe that they have some ghostly vibes to them. The look itself consists of a dirty gray hooded cloak with hints of green and purple to it, along with cracks on various portions. Along with it comes a face paint design that I consider a mix of neon and horror. The base is white, the eye detail wings off towards the temples in a purple to green gradient on both eyes, with 4 tear-like droplets coming down the eyes, 2 each of purple and green. The lips are half purple, half green, though not in a gradient. Finally, there are 2 gray cracks that come up from the jawline and just past the mouth. At the time I did this, I had considered long beforehand the possibility of cosplaying as either one of Kestrel or Ira's OCs. My most likely option before then was Kestrelina, but I was indecisive about which version of them I wanted to dress up as. After much thinking though, I decided on Irolina as being the first of my friend's OCs to cosplay as. The ghost version of him was the easiest choice in my books, since like I mentioned earlier, while I didn't create the OC himself, this version of him I did create. Thinking about this now, I do consider myself in charge of making face paints for all the OCs in our lore, whether it's Splatoon, Super Mario, or Storybook. Though a couple times, I let Kestrel take charge. Onto the cosplay outfit itself. It consisted of a ginger orange wig, which is almost identical to the color of my actual hair, but matching of Irolina's hair. Also, a white hooded robe, which I painted sporadically with green and purple fabric spray paint, with the cracks painted on with a black fabric paint. Underneath it, I wore a black t-shirt and track pants. I did consider wearing green and purple, but I think the black contrasts it quite a bit better. And last, but certainly not least, the face paint. It involved the same Maron Clown white light I described earlier, along with green, purple, and black water-activated face paints made by the brand Superstar, as opposed to the Maydeer brand. Application, however, was quite difficult. I was used to only using one color around my eye area, so putting green and purple there was most certainly a new road for me. The test I did the night before, however, was actually perfect, and honestly one of the best tests of face paint I have done. However, the day of the cosplay, I had to stop after my first try because I was very frustrated with how the colors were being applied and shaped. After around an hour, I got it rolling again. That time, it was more than perfect. While I didn't put the colors into a gradient like the original design, the end result honestly looked incredible. In terms of the robe, it looked just as good. It looked like a mix of a Northern Lights painting and an aged 19th century dress. And while not gray, it did have a bit of that aged element to it, with some of the color being darker than what was originally done. Plus, the white spots on some portions where I didn't quite get any paint on also really stood out. Kinda looks like the paint is weathered, now that I think of it. As for how Ira felt, there is no doubt he enjoyed it. Heck, he was even the first one to see it. I should make that routine whenever I cosplay any of my friends' favorite characters or OCs. So Kestrel and Ira, be prepared for that. All that aside, this cosplay taught me that with certain face paint / makeup designs, there was a degree of difficulty I'd have to master. Also, my ambition with cosplaying my friend's OCs increased dramatically, leading to one I did for Kestro's birthday last year, which I'll share at the end of the episode. So, what were hauntings, get it? Turned out to be blessings to improve my makeup skills. Thank you, Irelina. And to cap off this list of my favorite cosplays, I have Shiver, the cold-blooded bandit herself. My favorite Splatoon idol. I don't really think she needs too much of an intro, though she is one for the dramatic. Referencing episode 37, this was my Halloween cosplay for 2023. Like my Soul King cosplay, I had been planning this one since April that year, though I decided that Shiver would be more suited for Halloween. No wonder Halloween is about sending shivers down anybody's spine. Anyways, on to the cosplay itself. My Shiver cosplay involved the poncho and octopus charm, which I got off of Amazon, a blue wig, which I styled as best I could to match Shiver's hairstyle, especially on the back, an over-the-head headband in which the texture nearly perfectly fitted the profile of Shiver's in-game headband, a white t-shirt in place of the Sarashi wrap Shiver has, though I did try it. Didn't work the best though. And continuing the trend, a pair of black track pants. The cosplay itself did come with the exact pants Shiver wears in-game, but they were a little tight for my taste. But then again, a lot of my cosplays involve black track pants, don't they? For the makeup, it also introduced something new to me, much like my Ghost Irelina cosplay. This time, it was eyeliner. Like seen in Splatoon 3, Shiver has a humanoid-style eyeliner as opposed to the other in-game Octolings. And also much like my Ghost Irelina cosplay, I did a makeup test for my Shiver cosplay. The eyeliner itself was an eyeliner pencil, cleverly named Baby Got Black. In the test, I made it a little too thick, cause I noticed whenever I raised my eyes or blinked, the eyeliner would smudge close to my actual eyebrows. It was pretty annoying looking back on it. And much like the Irelina face paint, I did struggle quite a bit with the shape of the eyeliner itself. But with how thick I made the eyeliner look in the test, it did look as though I did get it right, as with the rest of the makeup. Speaking of which, here's what I used for it. For the triangle eyebrows, I used a blue water-activated face paint, but it's not the Maydeer brand. It's the Superstar brand, and I applied it over my actual eyebrows to give off the illusion of having new ones. The foundation? A Rose Ivory foundation, which I got to upgrade the foundation which I've been using for 2 years at that point to try and match my own skin tone. And Shiver's for that matter too, now that I think of it. The eyeshadow underneath came from a Spirit Halloween makeup palette consisting of red, white, black, and orange. Finally, while in the game it's not shown too well, Shiver does have a light red lip gloss. I showed it off more prominently with a red matte lip cream I also got at Spirit Halloween. My personal favorite part about the cosplay, though, was the fan. Compared to Shiver's in-game fan, which looks a little too plain to me, I decided to make it a lot more detailed, as seen right here. The Ho-Ho Zero family crest and shark fins on each end I used custom-made stencils for, along with a wave stencil for the bottom part, and sprayed them with a light blue fabric paint. Because of the fan's shape, however, some of the color did drip a little bit around and got splattered. Thinking about it now, though, they could come off as water splashes, especially on the shark fins. After the paint was dry, I used a blue Sharpie marker to go over the paint to make it look like the blue seen on the original fan. To finish it off, I drew on 5 Japanese symbols, each representing a relevant trait for Shiver's character. The 3 symbols on the left mean as follows: trust, leader, and clan. As for the 2 symbols on the right, beauty and acceptance. When it came time for Halloween, I really had to take my time with the makeup, especially the eyeliner. Once I was done, I feel I can safely say that once I combined it with the wig, costume, and fan, the cosplay really came together. Apart from a little issue with the shirt, because I cut it a little too much, which did expose my chest a little bit when the left sleeve came down, that didn't stop me from rocking Shiver that Halloween night. Before it was time to hand out candy, I did take quite a few pics, and even performed a dance for my mother, which she really enjoyed. The dance was a combination of the in-game one during Splatfests, along with some of my own moves. And when it was time, though it was literally shivering at night and I had to wear a sweater underneath my poncho, I got quite a few trick-or-treaters, including getting compliments from a girl dressed up as a sailor, quite fittingly because of Splatoon's theming, and hilariously, in retrospect, a much younger girl who thought my hair was pink as opposed to blue. The vocabulary young kids have is quite something, I must say. Afterwards, I did take quite a few more cosplay pics, and looking back on them now, my replication of some of Shiver's poses and expressions in-game look almost dead on, much like how I did my remastered Peach cosplay one. Here's some side-by-side comparisons for a little context. Even to this day, I find these coincidentally hilarious. I think all that time I've spent on the web looking at Shiver images has made me inherit some of those expressions. Even this smug face right here. This shows how much fun I've had with cosplaying Shiver. I love her so much, but never did I think in the sense where I would inherit some of her expressions or traits. However, my Halloween cosplay wasn't the only time I cosplayed as Shiver. On May 15th, 2024, I did a cosplay of her with a face paint I created inspired by her shark mask. In the case of the eyeliner, I used the same black superstar face paint I used for my Ghost Irelina cosplay as opposed to the eyeliner pencil. I did so since I applied the white face paint ahead of time just to my eye area. The rest of the face paint involved the same blue superstar face paint for the eyebrows, wave, and shark fins on my forehead and chin, along with my lips. Lastly, the red face paint was also superstar branded, used for the detailing of Shiver's shark mask. Much like the Halloween cosplay, I replicated poses of Shiver, even some I had yet to do. So it was basically like how Shiver would look in-game if she were to have face paint as opposed to a mask. Personally, while I still have difficulty replicating shapes from one side to the other, I think it turned out great. And the most recent one I've done at the time of this recording was August 9th, 2024, for a Halloween promotion at one of my local dirt racing tracks. I was basically the only adult to dress up that night, but I wasn't letting that stop me. The track wanted people to dress in costume, and Shiver was the perfect one for me to break out. I did change up one thing, however. I got a new shirt to wear underneath my poncho, since I was getting bugged by the shirt I originally used. Only this time, I didn't cut it to mimic Shiver's Sarashi wrap. I left it as it was. But what I did take away from that time around, it was the best I've done the Shiver makeup up to this point. I kid you not. Looking at these photos I took just before my family and I headed out, I honestly don't have enough words to describe how proud of the effort I had. I even got a compliment from a fellow patron who was showing her dog to my family and I while we were having a bite to eat. There will be no doubts I'll be cosplaying as Shiver more frequently. While Nicolina has been the character I've cosplayed as the most, Shiver has boosted my confidence in cosplaying overall significantly. She may very well be my signature character to cosplay as. Before we wrap this up, here are photos of the other cosplays I mentioned during this episode. I can't deny it. Cosplaying, I never would have thought about as a hobby, or maybe even a career as a child, let alone doing so as female characters. But with inspiration from my two sisters, my time painting my face in high school for School Spirit Days, it's something I can say I'm very proud to have done. While I may not be the best cosplayer by any stretch of the imagination, I'm honestly in this to have fun and express my favorite characters and my OCs, whether in my own way or how they're actually portrayed. So take a peek inside my ultimate wardrobe, and you'll be in for a treat only the rarest of eyes can see. That is all for episode 43, my angels. I've given little hints and peeks at my cosplaying life throughout my videos, but I feel it would be more than fitting to dedicate an entire video just to cosplaying and how far I've come with it. And if you happen to be a cosplayer yourself, or just do it for fun like I do, please feel free to let me know in the comments below what your favorite cosplay you've done is, or you can simply comment what is your favorite cosplay that I have done, whether it's one I've mentioned in this video or not. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to hit the like button and share this with your loved ones. Spread the word about Angel Rise and the Lord Nicolina YouTube channel. For those who are new here and would like to join this journey of mine, then please feel free to subscribe to join the Blue and White Angel Brethren today. Click on the notification bell as well when you subscribe, so that you are notified whenever I release new content. And check out my other videos too. Thank you all so much for watching this cosplay-tastic episode of Angel Rise. Get what I said there? I hope you all have a great day or night whenever you are watching this. And until we meet again, my name is Lord Nicolina. Be strong, stay positive, and God bless. Let your inner angel rise.